right, so I graduated in 1974, and in my years here, we had somebody who played a major role in Seahawks history in our tiny fraternity, Phi Kappa Theta, and his name was Paul Allen. He was the center on our intramural football team, and he did everybody's computer science homework, and that usually took him quite a bit of time. So he'd come back home at about 2 in the morning and start playing the guitar for a while, and kind of rile up the other guys in the house. And they'd say to me, I was the president of the fraternity, they'd say, "Hey, Flood, could you tell Paul to tone it down a little bit?" So I'd go in there and say, "Hey, Paul, you know, the guys are trying to sleep." And he'd say, "But I just did their homework." I'd say, "All right, maybe till 3 a.m., and that'd be good, huh?" But he became a heck of a guitar player. He also became the owner of the Seattle Seahawks, and of course he and Bill Gates started Microsoft, which helped in the process. But I'm going to take about 12 minutes today to talk about the phenomenon of the 12s and what this team means to the Northwest and why we have such a special bond with our fans. We like to use the term "We Are 12" because it connotes that the team and the fans are all one. We share a really special bond, and I think it comes partly, Ruben Mays was talking earlier about, you know, on the East Coast, what do people really know about the Northwest sometimes? I remember when I lived in New York, my wife worked on Wall Street. I was in the Coast Guard in my early days, and we'd go to parties, and I said, yeah, I'm from Washington State, not D.C. And one of her friends said, "I was in Ohio last summer." And I said, "Well, yeah, that's kind of close, but not exactly, you know." So I think the Northwest, being one of the last settled parts of America, you just kind of feel like you're out there and people don't really pay attention. And in the world of sports, we hadn't had a world championship for a long time, since the Sonics back in the 70s. So it was a big deal for us to finally get there and do what we did. So in the history of the 12s, in the Kingdom in the 1970s, all us Northwesterners felt like, hey, we can make a difference. This place is so loud when we're cheering. And they were so loud that the NFL actually instituted a rule, a penalty. I don't know if you guys will believe this, but if the home team if their crowd was yelling too loud, the referees could call a penalty on you if the opposition couldn't hear their quarterback. And so, you know, the Kingdom, of course, was getting tons of penalties, and nobody really liked it too well. The rule didn't last very long, but that was the beginning of this thing where we can make a difference for the team. Now, today, we've got records to prove that we are the loudest, 137.6 decibels in our game against New Orleans earlier this year in December, a Guinness Book of Records. And I think that that kind of thing, that kind of fervor, leads to the 12 being all over the place, from outer space, it's been in the space shuttle, to the top of Mount Everest, at Beasters of the North Pole, it's been on submarines, it's been in barracks and tents in the Middle East, it's been on businesses and homes. Many of you have probably flown the 12th man flag yourself and at the top of the Space Needle. The whole relationship was really rekindled when Paul Allen was asked to save the team from moving to Los Angeles. They'd actually set up offices down in LA in about 1996. And people came to Paul, who owned the Portland Trailblazers at the time and still does. They said, "Listen, we've got nobody else. We've got to act quickly or this team's going." And so he came up with a plan, and his friend Bert Cold, who was also in our fraternity, led a campaign. That campaign to get a new stadium built and keep the team here was one of the great rekindling, one of the great partnership efforts between ownership and fans. And I want to tell you how Paul Allen framed that. So let's watch this video.
When I said yes to help save the Seahawks, I meant that I do my part in building something for the future, personally and financially. If you vote yes, I'll do what it takes to make the new stadium and exhibition center a success. I stand by that commitment. But if you say no, that means no for me too, because I'm not going to do this without you. When I said that you'll have the final say, I meant it. Together, we can leave something for future generations.
Paid for by our teamworks.
I will say this, I have this on it's a magnetic poster I've had on my refrigerator for 17 years. But I would say that yes did work. I mean, when you look at the unity, the inspiration this team has brought, and the way the fans have bonded with the team, it really has worked. And another thing, we might do a little numerology today too. The referendum to build the new stadium was Referendum 48. And the Super Bowl we just won, Super Bowl 48. And of course, 4 times 12 is. So today, 95 consecutive sellouts, 30,000 people on the waiting list for season tickets. It's just a going concern inside and outside of the stadium. There's been a lot of great memories, and going back to that whole feeling that we're the Northwest, people are not going to really think that we can do anything here. When Pete Carroll came in 2010, we finished 7-9, but we won our division, so we're going to get to host a playoff game, and we're playing the New Orleans Saints, who had won the Super Bowl the previous year. Nobody thought we were going to win this game. But the fans and the team, in a concerted effort, they did it. We all did it. And Marshawn Lynch did it when he ran over 8 defenders for the Saints into the end zone for a game-clinching touchdown. At that point, the Richter scale to UW registered an earthquake. One of the great moments in Seattle sports. It was seismic. Another great memory is a play that you're going to remember because it was only a few months ago. Richard Sherman tipping that pass away from Crabtree to send us to the Super Bowl, with Malcolm Smith making the interception on a gutsy play where he never quit and came and just barely caught that ball in the end zone and preserved a win for us. So when we were going to head off to New York, the fans get together when we're going on any road game, and they line the road. But this time we had 30,000 people lining the road as the team buses took off for New York. 30,000 people. In Denver, by contrast, I heard they had a few hundred. So people here really feel an affinity for the team. They're so connected, and we want to make sure that we maintain that connection and embrace that whole philosophy. Another example of how we're connected is that out of the top 10 jerseys in the best sellers this year, 3 of them are Seahawks players, 1 is the fans, the number 12. I mean, it's pretty amazing when you look at all the famous quarterbacks, all the wide receivers, all the great players in the league, and one of the top 10 selling jerseys is the Seahawks number 12 jersey. I think in the like TED perspective, one of the things that I want to impart today is that there's a collaboration. Ideas don't come just from inside an organization. I know when I was flying airplanes in the Coast Guard, we were taught that everybody in that crew had something valuable, and if you tried to get ideas from everybody in the airplane, you were more likely going to have a successful rescue mission or get through emergencies if everybody felt like they were part of things. So for us at the Seahawks, we have great collaboration between departments, from customer service, marketing, community relations, sales, everybody. We're all together. And we also listen to the fans. The fans tell us what they think will work, and a lot of times the best ideas come from the fans. And our social media crew is excellent at promoting what the fans want to do. We've got fan leaders on Facebook and other social media platforms that will get people together for us on the road. In Atlanta, night before the game, 1,500 people getting together. During the game, about 5,000 Seahawks fans in Atlanta last year. Same in DC, San Diego, Carolina, all over the place, because we let the fans take the lead sometimes. And I think that's a big thing when you look at what you're going to do in your lives, is that good ideas don't just come from you and your essential crew. They come from all different places, and you've got to look for them. Another inspirational thing we've got going at the Seahawks is we've got a coach who's so positive. This is one of the lines that he uses and kind of exhibits how he thinks about life. Always search for unique qualities in people. Look for what people can do and not what they can't do. So I think a lot of people who are just casual football fans, people have told me they never really watched the game much this year, but they felt something about the team and something about Pete Carroll's leadership that inspired them. And John Schneider, he's the general manager who puts together this team with Pete, and he's got players. If you ask people, Seahawks fans, who's your favorite player? You might get 10 different answers right off the bat, because people see something in all these different individuals that resonates with them. It might be Derek Coleman, who has had a serious hearing loss problem his whole life and overcame that in both his education world and his athletic world. Doug Baldwin, undrafted, sometimes understated until lately, but he is a great receiver and will be an important part of this team for years to come. Marshawn Lynch, from a tough area in Oakland, goes back there every year, works with the kids in his neighborhood. Heath Farwell, number 55, the heart and soul of special teams. just a great player and a great guy in the community. And Russell Wilson, a tremendous person in the community. Too short, that's what they said, a great leader and a great calming influence on this team in tough times during a game. So when we went to New York, and I mean we, the team and the fans, if you walked around New York City, there was just a ton of blue and green in the city. Everybody kind of just enjoying this moment together. And I think people felt like at the game, it's going to be a corporate environment, you know, you can't really dominate when you're 3,000 miles away from home. But something happened that proved that people were wrong about being a corporate environment. 12 seconds into the game, the Denver center could not hear the quarterback, Peyton Manning, call the signals, and the ball went flying right by Peyton Manning's head for a safety for the Seahawks and a quick 2-0 lead, 12 seconds into the game. Well, another numerology thing. 12 seconds into the second half, Percy Harvin ran the kickoff back for a touchdown. So there's a lot of great moments in that game, and it was a serious team effort. And in the end, just a wild victory, the best victory in Seattle football history. Little imagery of that. And in the locker room, it was a great scene of unity, satisfaction. But, you know, people weren't giddy. There was no champagne being shot all over the place. People were congratulating each other. And even talking, before Pete got together with the team, even then they were talking about what's next. What are we going to do? Well, one thing we did was come back and have a parade in the city of Seattle. And people from all over the Northwest showed up. People from all over the country showed up for this parade. One of the great community unity examples that I've ever seen, and certainly satisfying since I worked on this campaign right here. It's pretty much when I felt like, yeah, yes, worked. So 700,000 people, young and old, men and women, every different culture, no problems, just a joyous celebration together where we all got to share something that was important to us. Even it may not be a job, it may not be saving a life, but there's something special about that. And you know, when you think about times like 9/11 or a year after the Boston Marathon bombing, people get together at sporting venues, and there's just something special. You can't really explain it, but there's inspiration and hope by getting together like that. Okay, for us, we want to make sure that the fans know that this is a reciprocal relationship, that they give so much to us on game day, helping us win the game, that we're going to make sure we give back to them throughout the offseason. Russell Wilson's one of the best at that. That's Kevin Lee, who is one of the only people to have his name on the roster. We have a wall with the name and the position and the years played for every player, and Kevin Lee happens to be up there because we brought him in and signed him to a contract, and then Russell Wilson went out and played football with him. In the summertime, and actually throughout the year, we do things with kids to promote exercise and nutrition and health, and the players are really big on this. A lot of these guys came from environments where teachers made a big difference in their lives. They really turned them around or saved them. So they're big on doing the same thing for kids and recognizing teachers themselves. We follow the lead of the fans, too, that we don't have to come up with every idea. Sometimes the fans come up with things. One of them is at Ronald McDonald House, which is a refuge, a place for families to gather with their children when they're undergoing serious health care from Children's Hospital. Our fans go there sometimes and cook breakfast for the kids, and we bring the mascot, Blue Thunder, and the Seagulls, and others, and entertain those kids for a day and their families, and it's a very moving and very much appreciated event. We're also very tight with the military. We have a young man that works for us who served in Iraq, was injured, came back and recovered, got a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree, and a master's degree, and started doing things for the military and for kids. We hired him a few years ago, and he is the centerpiece of what we do for military families around the Northwest. But so is Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll and the other coaches embrace these guys. Pete's done so much with military people. I had a group of Navy SEALs coming to practice one time last year, and Pete heard about it, and he said, well, bring those guys on Saturday before a home game on a Sunday. bring them into the team meeting on Saturday. I want to talk to them. So they came in, and Coach Carroll had them come up on the stage and talk about what it took to get through SEAL training and what their missions were like, what their lives were like, so that the players, again, could get inspiration from outside the organization, from some other source. They could learn and get better that day. Another of Coach Carroll's philosophies is respect everyone and every opportunity. It's a great motto to live by every day. And he did that in both at Los Angeles when he was at USC and in Seattle with programs that he wanted to institute to combat gang violence in those two cities. In Seattle, it's really not just Seattle, it's the whole Puget Sound region. And one of the ways that we do that, and he did that, is to bring We Day to Seattle. We Day is largely a Canadian deal where people do things in their community and internationally to change lives, to really help, to get young people, high school kids, focused on doing something for somebody else. So in the Northwest this year, this is the second year we did this, we had 400 schools participating, 16,000 kids to be recognized and come together for a day at Key Arena where speakers come and great entertainers come and show these kids, talk to these kids all day, and they talk to the people on stage too, and just share the love of doing something for somebody else. That's what We Day is all about. Well, going back to the past, there's Paul Allen in our tiny fraternity on the left here, and then there's Paul Allen, Bert Cold, and me in the locker room after the Super Bowl, enjoying one of the great moments in Seattle sports history. All right, so what's next for us? We really, Sam Brahovic wrote in Crosscut recently, let's try and harness the power of 12s for social good. Now, again, we're looking for ideas on how to do that. I know we're out there in the community and we're doing good things, but we're trying to figure out what can we do to shine the light on other people's work and create even greater unity throughout the Northwest. So we've got people who are kind of in this field, from marketing to community outreach, people that have worked for the Gates Foundation and others, and they're helping us figure out what we can do that'll make the Northwest even a more powerful and united community organization. That's Pete and the Kielberger brothers on the stage for We Day. And that's one of the things we will continue, because it's such a great way to teach kids that, not just to say, hey, don't do this, stay away from that. It's more like, here, let's do something positive. Let's share in something positive. We'll do it together. All right, we're going to show a little video here that kind of will remind you of what this season was all about, and a little bit about us in the community, too.
Looks, fires near side, going for the end zone. Ball is picked up and after it. The Seahawks are going to New Jersey. Here we go, the tradition of the Super Bowl. Ball is hit as it comes out and it's picked up by the Seahawks. Far sideline, Malcolm Smith, 50, 49, he's going to go. Holy Catfish, touchdown, Seahawks. They're bringing the trophy home. Your Seahawks, Super Bowl 48 champions.
Know it's the Seattle Seahawks. How many teams have anything like that without their own logo on it or their name on it? you can put out there, and people now get the feeling, they know that the 12 is us. It's all about us. So what's next for us? Well, the draft comes up May 8th, 9th, 10th. Mini camps start. But we're going to be doing stuff with our fans from Alaska to Oregon in the meantime. And then on September 4th, we'll all be together at CenturyLink Field. We'll be taking on the Green Bay Packers. In the first game of the year, we're going to try and go 1-0 every week. Just go 1-0. That's our goal. Cougars, thanks for having us here. It's such a pleasure to kick off TED Talks with you guys, and it's an honor for me to be back here. It's an honor for the Seahawks and our fans to get a chance to tell you what we do. So, thanks.